When Jill Swaggart, the poised and graceful wife of Gabriel Swaggart, was seen walking into a New York courthouse last month, whispers immediately spread like wildfire across Christian social media. Photos captured her in a simple beige coat, head slightly down, her wedding ring still visible but her expression unreadable. Within hours, the internet was ablaze with one explosive question. Is Jill Swaggart divorcing Gabriel? Fans speculated. Comment sections ignited. But as it turns out, the truth is far more shocking and far more dangerous than anyone imagined. Because according to exclusive insider sources, Jill wasn't in court to end her marriage. She was there to save her name. And what she was fighting was not love gone cold. It was $1 million deception that nearly destroyed her reputation, her finances, and even the Swaggart family's ministry legacy. People have it all wrong. One insider close to Jill revealed under condition of anonymity. This wasn't about a divorce. Jill was the victim. She was scammed, hard, and she didn't even see it coming. The setup, a woman of faith targeted. To understand how this all began, we need to step back nearly a year. Jill Swaggart has always been seen as the elegant heart of the Swaggart family. She's not just Gabriel Swaggart's wife. She's the music director, worship leader, and emotional anchor of Family Worship Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Week after week, millions tune into Sun Life Broadcasting Network to watch her lead hymns with her signature warmth and humility. But behind that stage smile, Jill was walking into one of the most sophisticated scams ever to touch the Swaggart circle. According to court records reviewed by multiple journalists, the fraud began through a charity investment proposal that looked perfectly legitimate. It came from an organization claiming to be affiliated with several Christian missions in Eastern Europe. The proposal spoke of funding orphanages, Christian schools, and music outreach programs, all things Jill was deeply passionate about. She has a huge heart, another church staffer said. Jill's the kind of woman who would give her last dollar if she thought it could help a child or spread the gospel. That's how they got her. The group behind the scam allegedly approached Jill through a trusted intermediary, someone she'd known for years through ministry connections. They presented a polished portfolio, professional documents, and even video footage of children singing hymns in remote villages. To Jill, it looked like a divine opportunity. She invested $1 million, part personal funds, part raised through a private donor circle that she believed was supporting a legitimate outreach. But weeks later, everything started falling apart. The first red flag. It began with a strange phone call. The representative who'd handled the project suddenly stopped answering messages. Then, two of the supposed mission partners emailed Jill asking why she hadn't sent funds when she already had. That's when the fear hit. Within days, Jill contacted legal counsel and financial investigators, realizing the horrifying truth. The organization didn't exist. The photos were stolen, the video footage fabricated, and the bank accounts linked to shell companies registered offshore. By the time authorities got involved, the scammers had already vanished. When she found out, she was devastated, said the insider. She felt embarrassed, humiliated even. She couldn't believe she'd been deceived like that, especially since the money was meant for God's work. Why New York? The natural question that followed was, why was the case in New York if Jill lives in Louisiana? According to court filings, the fraudulent transactions were traced back to a New York-based brokerage service that had unknowingly facilitated part of the transfer. Jill was subpoenaed as a victim witness, working with attorneys to prove her involvement had been purely philanthropic. That's the day she was spotted entering the courthouse, sparking the divorce rumors that spiraled out of control online. People saw her in court without Gabriel and jumped to conclusions, said another source. But she was there to testify, not separate. It's crazy how fast the internet turns compassion into gossip. The internet goes wild. Within hours of her court appearance, several gossip channels and religious blogs ran headlines like, Jill Swaggart files for divorce? Gabriel and Jill split. Insiders say it's Swaggart family drama back in the spotlight. The irony? Gabriel was actually at Sun Life Broadcasting that same day, recording a segment for Generation of the Cross. But even as the Swaggarts stayed silent, the rumors deepened. Online sleuths pointed to cryptic social media activity. Jill had temporarily limited comments on her Instagram. She had also stopped wearing some of her usual jewelry during broadcasts. The speculation grew unbearable. Jill's heart was breaking, said one longtime church member. She didn't want to go public, but when she saw people calling her a runaway wife, she knew she had to defend herself. The shock statement. Then, 2 weeks later, a carefully worded statement appeared on a private ministry forum, attributed to a representative for the Swaggart family. It read, in part, There has been a serious criminal matter affecting Mrs. Jill Swaggart. Contrary to online reports, this is not a marital or family dispute. Mrs. Swaggart has been cooperating fully with authorities regarding a financial scam that targeted her good faith and charitable intentions. The post was deleted within 24 hours, but screenshots circulated like wildfire. Suddenly the narrative flipped. The woman everyone thought was filing for divorce was actually fighting for justice. Behind closed doors, Jill's emotional collapse. According to insiders, the months following the revelation were some of the darkest of Jill's life. Friends describe her as emotionally wrecked, not because of the lost money, but because of how it made her question her discernment, her faith, and even her role in ministry. She told someone close to her, "How can I stand on a pulpit and talk about trust when I couldn't even see a lie?" Those words reportedly broke Gabriel's heart. While Jill's husband maintained his usual calm public demeanor, sources say the couple quietly sought counseling. Gabriel was deeply protective, but also frustrated by how the internet magnified their private pain. He told people, "If you're going to pray, pray for her peace, not for gossip." That's all he said publicly, one insider noted. He didn't need to defend her, he just stood by her. How the scam worked. Financial investigators later uncovered that the perpetrators behind the charity were part of a larger international fraud ring that had targeted several prominent religious figures. They specialized in creating faith-based investment fronts, using real-looking websites, stolen photos from missionary trips, and fabricated endorsements from known ministries. Their goal, to solicit large donations under the guise of humanitarian aid. In Jill's case, they exploited not only her compassion but also her high-trust network within Christian philanthropy circle. The fraudsters convinced her that her name would help attract further donations. In exchange, she would be listed as an honorary CO chair for the mission program. Everything was designed to look authentic, from notarized paperwork to bank references. It wasn't until a bank flagged one of the accounts for suspicious overseas activity that the web began to unravel. This was no small-time con, an attorney familiar with the case said. They knew exactly who she was and what buttons to push. The emotional cost. Money can be replaced, reputations cannot. And for Jill, the fear wasn't about the missing million, it was about how people would perceive her involvement. Would they believe she'd fallen for a scam? Or would they assume she'd been part of it? She cried for weeks, a friend recalled. She felt like she'd let down her husband, her church, and even God. But Gabriel told her something beautiful. He said, "You didn't fail God, evil just wore a mask this time." That line reportedly brought her back to tears, but it also began her healing. Why she stayed silent. If you followed Jill's journey over the years, you know she rarely speaks publicly about personal matters. So why didn't she go public when the rumor started? The answer, sources say, is legal advice. Federal investigators had advised her to remain quiet while the case was under active review. Any public statements could have complicated her victim status or revealed details still under investigation. But silence came at a cost. It allowed speculation to spread unchecked. In the world of televangelism, where perception is everything, even a whisper can sound like thunder. And soon, what began as an act of faith turned into a nightmare of mistrust. The courtroom moment. Those who were inside the New York courtroom that day described Jill as composed but visibly emotional. She reportedly sat with her attorney, hands clasped, occasionally bowing her head in prayer. When asked by the judge to confirm the details of the fraudulent transfer, she responded softly but firmly, "Yes, Your Honor, I believe this was a mission led by God. I was wrong." According to witnesses, the courtroom went silent. That moment captured the essence of who Jill is, humble, repentant, yet unwavering in faith even after betrayal. What comes next? As of now, legal proceedings continue quietly behind closed doors. Several arrests have reportedly been made in connection to the scam network, though authorities have not released names publicly. Jill's financial losses are expected to be partially recovered through insurance and restitution. But what she truly gained, painfully yet profoundly, was a renewed sense of purpose. She said recently that she won't stop giving, a friend revealed. She just learned to give. The Swaggart family's response. While the Swaggarts have kept official silence, their actions spoke volume. In recent weeks, Jill has returned to leading worship, her voice steady but her eyes often glistening during prayer. Gabriel, meanwhile, has been more vocal in his sermons about forgiveness after deception and the price of misplaced trust. Listeners noticed and connected the dots. "It was like watching a sermon become real life," said one longtime viewer. "They preached about faith under fire and then lived it." The internet's U-turn. After weeks of bashing, the online tide slowly began to turn. Once screenshots of the court summary leaked, proving Jill was a victim, fans flooded social media with apologies and messages of support. Comments like, "We're sorry for judging you, Jill. You didn't deserve this. Thank you for staying strong." The woman once accused of walking away from her marriage became a symbol of perseverance, someone who stood firm in faith even when everything around her crumbled. The hidden lesson. In the end, what happened to Jill Swaggart isn't just another celebrity church scandal. It's a reflection of how vulnerability and virtue often collide in the modern faith world. Even the most discerning hearts can be fooled when deception wears the mask of devotion. She said once, a friend recalled, "Satan doesn't always knock loud. Sometimes he whispers in the name of love." And that, perhaps, is the truest lesson of all. The trail didn't end in Europe, a federal investigator said. It looped right back to Baton Rouge. And that's where everything changed. The email that shattered trust. 2 months after Jill's heartbreaking court appearance, a subpoena forced the release of an encrypted Gmail thread between the so-called charity coordinator and an unidentified Louisiana contact. Buried deep within those messages was a name that made investigators freeze: LN. At first, they thought it was a random alias, but further metadata analysis connected that Gmail to an IP address located inside the same administrative offices used by Sun Life Broadcasting Network. Someone inside the organization had been communicating with the fraud ring, a source close to the case whispered. Whether knowingly or not, that's what they're trying to determine. The revelation blindsided the family. Gabriel's fury behind closed doors. Those who were at the Ministries' main office that week described a tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Gabriel Swaggart reportedly called a private meeting with senior staff, locking the doors and demanding complete transparency. He was calm, but you could feel the fire underneath, said one employee. He asked everyone straight out, "Who talked to these people? Who opened that door?" No one spoke. Everyone simply stared at the table. According to sources, Gabriel later told confidants that this betrayal felt worse than the scam itself, because it meant someone within their trusted circle had paved the way for Jill's devastation. The shadow consultant. Weeks later, investigators uncovered a new lead, a consultant hired months before the scam to optimize donor outreach. The consultant's name, Lydia Marin, a 42-year-old marketing strategist with a record of working for various Christian nonprofits. At first glance, Lydia seemed credible. Polished resume, glowing references, even photos with well-known ministry figures. But as it turned out, those references were forged, and the photos digitally altered. Jill had met Lydia only twice in person, once at a charity luncheon and once over coffee at a quiet Baton Rouge cafe. Both times, Lydia spoke passionately about faith investments and kingdom partnerships. Within weeks, she introduced Jill to the European outreach that would become the $1 Million Night. When agents finally located Lydia, she was living under a new name in Miami, with over $300,000 in offshore transfers traced back to her account. "She played everyone perfectly," said the investigator. "She knew Jill's heart, knew the language of ministry, and used it as a weapon." The hidden emails revealed. In court filings reviewed by journalists, Lydia's emails showed chilling precision. She used phrases tailored to gain trust. "Your worship leadership is the heartbeat of global revival. We believe the Lord is calling you to plant this seed into the soil of Europe. You will be blessed sevenfold for your obedience." Each message dripped with spiritual vocabulary, the exact tone that would resonate with someone like Jill, who lived her life by faith and generosity. Those emails read like scripture mixed with manipulation, and analysts said, that's how sophisticated this was. Jill's breaking point. By the time the investigation confirmed Lydia's role, Jill had already been through months of public humiliation. Now she faced something even more painful, the knowledge that the person who betrayed her had looked her in the eye and spoken the name of God. "She broke down," said a close friend. "She told me it wasn't about money anymore, it was about trust. How could someone use his name to lie?" Jill reportedly withdrew from most public appearances for nearly 6 weeks. During that period, she spent hours in prayer inside the empty family worship center, sometimes late into the night. Employees who saw her said she would sit alone at the piano, quietly playing hymns,